Good morning. I want to remind everybody that we have our support groups this week, Wednesday at 1 o'clock and Friday at 11 a.m. These support groups are open to the public and we want you to join if you kind of want to check them out, if you've never been or if you haven't been in a while. We'll make sure to get you the link to join those this afternoon. I will send out the slides from today and a recording for your to rewatch or to take notes on and to share. We do ask that you share any of our information with anybody you think would benefit from this. Most of our programs are recorded and downloaded to our YouTube channel, so you can just tell people to go to our YouTube channel and watch a lot of the recordings that we have. We don't record everything, but we record most things. We're also on Thursday doing a program, a bite-sized program about changing your thinking, and we will be talking about those shoulda statements, the shoulda, woulda, coulda, and then personalizing the blame as well, and how we take some of those more negative thoughts in our caregiving role and turn them into more positive thoughts. Today, we are talking about shadowing and mirroring behaviors. This behavior is fairly common across all the dementias. It's not just an Alzheimer's dementia behavioral issue, it's really across all the dementias. And one of the more difficult things about this behavior is it's not a violent behavior, it's not a physically aggressive behavior, right? But it is a very energy-sucking behavior for caregivers, for those of us that are being shadowed by our loved one. But I want to start with kind of getting our mind set in saying that our loved ones, the person with dementia, is not giving you a hard time, they're having a hard time. And if we can continuously remind ourselves of that, it will prolong our energy a little bit more, maybe prolong our patience a little bit more. It doesn't take away the behavior, but it can make it a little bit easier. And know that behaviors in persons with dementia are just a form of communication. They have lost their words, their vocabulary, or losing their words and vocabulary, the things that we use commonly to communicate our needs, wishes, wants, desires. They don't have that, but they are using what they have left. Their need to communicate their wants, needs, desires never goes away. It's how they're communicating is what changes. And typically on the more middle stages of the disease, later stages, what they have is their behaviors, their actions, their reactions to situations or people or things. So know that they are coping and reacting the best way they can with what the abilities they still have, using what they have left. And this disease is also taking away their means to understand what's going on around them, understand words that we're using, understand the environment that they're in. And they are going to be able to or need to express their confusion around these things. And also know that our response to their behaviors, to their actions, can make the situation worse or it can make it better. And a lot of that comes with mirroring. If we're exhibiting frustration or exhaustion or impatience, they can pick up on that, and a lot of times they're going to mirror that behavior. Talk more about that here in a second, that we can make it worse. But if we exhibit calmness and relaxation and patience, they can pick up on that and mirror that behavior as well. Pros and cons to it. But talking about shadowing specifically, shadowing is a term used for when a person with dementia is constantly following around a caregiver. Usually it's one person around the home. And they're not letting that person out of their sight. You know, if it's you get up to go to the restroom, they get up to follow you. You get up to go to the kitchen, they're getting up and they're following you into the kitchen. You turn around and they're right there, and it is constantly by your side. It's like they're your shadow. You can't separate from them. They won't allow it, right? If you try to separate from them or get out of their sight, they can become very anxious or very upset. They may not stay or even go with another person, even if it's a close friend or family member, a child. They may not go with them because they have found their anchor or their person that they're going to shadow, and it become very scary when they're away from them. This behavior is caused, we think, mainly by a sense of fear and uncertainty. because they don't understand the world around them or what's happening or what to do next. Sometimes they find that one person that they trust, the person they know that has the answers. I like this person. I'm going to stick with them because they know what to do, and I know I'm safe with them too. There could also be an attachment issue that they're going through, and this kind of comes to, or an attention getting issue. And this comes to as a person with dementia progresses in their disease. What it can look like is they are regressing in time, and maybe they're going back to a time in childhood where, if you think about, sometimes children have an attachment issue to a parent, or they have that attention-seeking behavior for a parent or for others around them. Several reasons why this is caused, but this might be something along those lines. Not that they're children, or that we certainly want to treat them like children, but kind of have a better understanding of maybe why this behavior is happening, right? Again, a lot of that, even with the children, there's some fear, there's some uncertainty, and just comfort and safety and familiarity with that person or that parent, that spouse, that main caregiver that they're shadowing. They can also mimic or mirror our actions. So it's not that they're just shadowing you or following you around room to room, no matter where you go. They might not even let you go to the restroom by yourself, or they're right there at that door waiting for you to get out, right? But they're also doing exactly what you're doing. So if you walk into the kitchen and you start unloading the dishwasher, well, they're right behind you picking up stuff, or they're pulling stuff out of the cabinets because they're just doing what they're seeing you do. And that can be a form of, well, if I need to be doing something important, I need to be looking busy, I am important, I should be busy, so I'm just going to do what I see. So that can also come along with it as well. But understanding that they are not aware that they've been following you all day long. They don't remember that they've been shadowing you all day long. They also don't understand, or can be very easily confused about the passage of time. Even from early stages of dementia, this awareness of time, how much time has gone by, is easily confused. So it could be a few minutes have gone by, but they may think it's several hours. Say you leave to go get take out the trash, and it takes you 5 minutes. Sort the trash, get it all going, and you come back into the house, and your loved one is very anxious, very upset because you've been gone for so long, and I didn't know where you were, and you've been gone for so long. Why did you leave for so long? And like, I was just taking the trash out. I was out for 5 minutes, but really not aware of that time passage. They're also less able to pick up on social cues or interpersonal cues that can that let us know that we're causing other people distress. If I know that I am maybe worn out my welcome with somebody, I can generally pick up on that, right? Well, they're less able to pick up on those social cues or awareness cues, and less aware of themselves, and less aware of how their actions and behaviors are affecting others. And that goes from very early stages of the disease too. So that can be the same with any behavior or challenging behavior that you might encounter with somebody with dementia. And another thing is their short-term memory loss. They can't remember our instructions or our directions. So saying, I'm going to be back shortly. I'm just going to go to the other room. You stay right here. You might go to the other room. 2 minutes later, they're right there behind you. They're looking for you because they don't remember that instruction. Or you stay with this person. I'm going to be back shortly. I need some time. You're safe here. I need some time. Can you just give me the time you're safe? They're just not going to remember those instructions. The shadowing behavior usually happens in the mid to later stages of the disease, because this is the time of the disease where somebody becomes more dependent on somebody else and more dependent on most areas of care. They need more help with those self-care activities. They need more help with just what to do next in the day, need more help with communication. So they're becoming very dependent on others. So this is where you typically see the shadowing behavior pop up. Again, while this is not a violent behavior or physical aggressive behavior, it's a very, very tough behavior for the caregiver or the person that's being shadowed because there are feelings of claustrophobia. There are feelings of you are violating my personal space. This hopelessness and helplessness, because I can't even be separated from you for a few minutes without it becoming a huge problem. Frustration, irritation, anxiety. If we can, we're going to talk about practicing self-care because that's going to be crucial, but understanding that this person with dementia, my loved one, is having a normal reaction to their confusion, their fear, and their anxiety. They're not doing this to irritate us. They're not doing this to get under our skin. They are living in a state of fear, confusion, this anxiety, and it's a normal reaction for them to anchor themselves or shadow what they feel safe with, what they feel comfortable with, the person that has all the answers, person that's not going to let them down, right? So if we can change our perspective on their behavior and their reactions to this, we can develop more patience and more energy. Now, changing our perspective on this is a daily discipline. It might be several times throughout the day that I got to change my perspective and put myself in their shoes as best I can. So this is I'll just read it. I got this off WebMD site, I believe, but it said, in people with dementia, I believe shadowing represents the message of uncertainty, insecurity, or fear. This is Angela Lund in the Mayo Clinic. She writes an Alzheimer's blog for the Mayo Clinic. This, where am I? What am I doing here? What am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? Do I know you? Consequently, caregivers represent a lifeline, a security, a protector, or an anchor to oneself. So they might be having these questions all day long, and that caregiver is that lifeline. I really liked that analogy, the lifeline, the security, the protector for the person living with dementia. And I just wanted to share this is a daughter's experience with her mom that shadowed. She's passed, but her experience with this one behavior that she wrote about and shared about. So there are numerous behaviors by those with Alzheimer's or dementia that have a negative effect on the caregiver. Shadowing, sundowning, a lack of hygiene. All we can do under these circumstances is to persevere and remind ourselves that the person with Alzheimer's or dementia has no idea what is happening to them. Most of their days are spent in a confining fear. I can remember Mom's eyes even now, years later. She was always afraid and complained of being alone all the time. Yet she had many family members visit on a regular schedule. Looking back, the small nuances of shadowing or pleading with Mom to shower leaves only a tiny dot on the memory compared to all the pleasurable moments and times Mom and I enjoyed those last few years. And I really liked that because in the moment, it can be very overwhelming, and it can be this feeling of helplessness or hopelessness. But being able to hear it from somebody that's been through this and saying, well, looking back on it, it was just a tiny dot, a small nuance, and all the pleasurable moments outweighed this small thing that happened. That's perspective. Perspective that she has because now it's come and passed. But maybe hopefully a perspective that we can start to grab hold onto and grab hope onto as well, to know that all behaviors, but especially the shouting behavior, will pass. These behaviors will pass. There will be something new, but this behavior will pass as the disease changes our loved ones. So the best tips on managing the shadowing behavior. And you have to understand that your self-care is going to be crucial because I don't know that there's a way to stop somebody that's shadowing or is living in this fear to separate you sometimes physically separate you from this person. So I have to practice self-care. If you can find personal time, that's going to be the ideal. You're going to need some time alone to physically separate if you possibly can, even if it's for a short period of time. Even if the time alone that you get, which might be in the restroom, in the bathroom, in the shower, it might be in the car, parked in the garage, right? If you can take that 5 minutes, that 10 minutes, and the time that you get that you're actually alone, you're out taking the trash out, that you can practice some quick but effective stress management techniques. So you can do some deep breathing exercises. You can do some meditation. You might be able to do some guided imagery while you are separated, even if it's for a short period of time. I also encourage you, though, to work somebody into the schedule, into the routine, into the environment that they can get used to. So even if you're still there and they're still shadowing you around the house, following you around, if there's somebody else there they can be familiar with, become familiar with, or become comfortable with being in the space. So all three of you are in the space. And if they can interact with your loved one or distract them long enough to do something else, you might all three be in the same room, but your loved one might be engaged with this other person. They can still see you. They still have eyes on you, right? Because their need is being met by seeing their anchor, their lifeline. But I can be distracted or engaged with this other person. There can be a sense of separation or a sense of, okay, I can take a deep breath because mom or my wife or whomever is being distracted or engaged with somebody else, even though we're in the same room. But it might take a while for them to get used to this other person being in the space, being in space with them and becoming familiar with them. You still might leave the room and they pop up and leave with you, but there's somebody else there to kind of help manage the behavior as well. Another good tip is using music. Music is one of the best therapies for all of us, but especially people with dementia. And I really suggest, especially if we're doing shadowing or something where you want to calm them or ease some anxiety, is using headphones. So if you can get some comfortable headphones and play their music that's familiar and enjoyable to them, and have them sit down and they're listening to their music in their headphones. Again, you can be in the same room and they might still have eyes on you, or maybe they can become distracted. Another great thing to do is try and do a sing along. So whether it's on the computer, or the iPad, or the TV, but they're seeing the words in front of them. And right now, with Christmas coming up, you can do Christmas carols, and they're singing along with the computer. They're interacting with the iPad or the TV, headphones on or not, but they can be distracted with that music and that sing along. So they're using more of their brain. So they're having to use more energy to stay focused on this. And a lot of people enjoy it. So it's something they want to do. This might give you the opportunity to step out for a few minutes while they are distracted and completely engrossed in this one activity. If you can use other meaningful, engaging activities, anything that'll capture your loved one's attention for a period of time. Some of these activities, the best ones for this particular behavior will be repetitive and purposeful, meaningful activities. So this is, folding laundry, folding socks, stringing up popcorn, making those popcorn garlands, decorations, shredding paper, sorting things, sorting buttons, sorting nuts and bolts, coloring, art or coloring, these things that they can be engrossed in for a period of time. And there's purpose in it, there's meaning in it, and there's a repetitiveness in it. That repetitiveness helps ease anxiety and promotes some calm feelings. And then offering reassurances. They don't remember that they don't remember that they don't remember. And they don't remember our reassurances either. So even in a moment or a more stressful time, we're saying, Mom, you're okay, you're safe here. Yes, you're where you're supposed to be. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. But starting to incorporate these reassuring affirmations throughout the day, not when it's needed, but throughout the day. Hey, Mom, you're safe here. You are where you are supposed to be. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. And making sure these are the same each time we use them. They're repetitive, but they're simple and they're short because it's something they can hold on to. Even if they hold on to it for a short amount of time, they can hold on to those simple short statements. And then using familiar photos, familiar movies, books, notes that can be soothing and reassuring. So if you have created a memory book or just a photo album out there that's clearly marked with names, places, and dates, because this can be something they can be easily distracted with because they're looking through their lives, their past, right? And they're familiar with these photos and what's going on. Or if you can write a note with those short, simple statements on it, And also, I think one of the best things we can do is make a recording, whether it's just audio or it's a video recording, with short stories that you can tell that they can replay. There's a familiarity in there, there's a comfort in it, and they can obviously become engrossed in watching a video or listening to a recording. This is especially good if you are going to separate from them. If you are going to go ahead and say, I have to have this time, this may make them upset and anxious, but I have to do this for myself. And I'm going to leave them with a trusted person, and I'm going to leave them with this recording or this video so that person can replay it over and over again. This also can mitigate some phone calls that you might get if you leave for a little while. They become so upset. Well, let's just call her. Well, let's just play the recording, and they can hear your voice and they can see you, and you're saying those affirmations. I'm going to be back shortly. I just went to the store. You're safe here with your daughter, Sarah. She'll be with you till we're gone, or until I'm back. Something like that, so they can replay and replay and replay, because that can soothe and ease some anxiety also. Great if you are going to be away, but it's also helpful if you're there too. Establishing and sticking to a routine. A routine for any person with dementia just helps them maintain and do better for a longer period of time. In the middle stages of the disease, when you start to see these behaviors, if they're already used to a routine, the severity of the behaviors may not be as bad, because they are used to, it's not that they remember what happens next in the day necessarily, but there's a familiarity to it. Generally, most of us human beings do better on a routine. And try not to change the environment. Or if you did change the environment, like they just moved to a new environment or something, expect there to be an adjustment period. That adjustment period can be weeks, and it can be a month or more. But you might notice that they're just adjusting to their environment. And when they get more familiar with it, you might see this behavior lessen. But you do want to make sure the environment's friendly and it's familiar. There's plenty of stuff in the environment that's theirs that they're going to recognize. Old photos, the memory book that's out, familiar objects like an old quilt maybe they've always had, or that old hutch they've always had. It's familiar to them, and it's friendly, it's in their environment, and it's a functional environment. So when you walk into an area, you know what to do in that area. Like if you walk into the kitchen and there's a little coffee area, well, everything's out and I know what to do in that coffee area because it's a functional area for me. You can also provide snacks, and snacks that are harder to eat or take a little bit longer to eat, because this can be distracting. So, pistachios, you got to unshell those pistachios and eat them. A pomegranate, edamame, or use chopsticks for the snack or something. This is something that I've seen used, and it works. Again, it's not providing you a day off of not being shadowed, but it helps for a short period of time. And then you can use a timer. If your loved one is a little bit better with time, or they can focus on one thing for a short period of time, this may work. It may not. It's kind of a let's try and see what happens type strategy. But telling your loved one, setting the timer, say, I'm going to be back when this timer goes off. So just watch the timer, or the TV program. When this program is over, when Gunsmoke is over, I'm going to be back. So you stay right here and watch this. I'm going to be back. It's best if you're going to use this if you're staying in the same building, if you're staying in the same home. So if you need to go take a shower or go take a nap or whatever it is, say, I'm going to go do this while you watch this TV program, and I'm going to be back. And it's something absolutely to try to see how it works. And then this mirroring. So I said shadowing and mirroring, and that they can mirror our behaviors. There is a power in mirroring, because they can mirror or mimic what we are doing. So they can mirror or mimic an activity that we want them to engage in. So after I get them started on an activity, so if I sit down and I do the popcorn garland and we show them how they do it, and they do it along with me because I'm showing them how to do it, then they can engage in this activity on their own. But also knowing that the power of mirroring is they will pick up and mirror our nonverbal communication. So if we are communicating exhaustion or frustration or irritation, they will mirror that same thing, and they will communicate the same thing. So when it is, we're 3 weeks into the shadowing behavior and it's 8 o'clock at night and I haven't had any personal time, I'm probably going to be communicating some irritation. I guarantee you I'll be communicating some irritation. So that power of self-care and getting some persons to tag team in there with you. And it could just be a phone call. Not physically have somebody tag team with you, but if it's a phone call, let's call your brother up here on the phone and talk to him for a minute. And when you get that time alone, or you get that space, even if they're in the same room, but they're not focused on you at that moment, practice that self-care technique. Do some deep breathing. Shoot a quick little prayer, upstairs and say, you're going to have to give me some more patience in the next 10 minutes, something like that to help you get through. So all behavior has a purpose, right? And then you might need to identify any triggers when it comes to shadowing, because sometimes it might be that the shadowing doesn't happen all day long, or they're easily distracted in the morning, but in the afternoon it increases and they won't leave your side. So there might be some triggers of why the shadowing increases or why it happens in the first place that you can identify. And then understand we can't change our loved one, but we can determine an unmet need and accommodate. We're the ones that are going to have to modify with the changes that are happening to them. And we can change how we respond to those challenging behaviors. Again, they are not giving us a hard time, they are having a hard time. So do y'all have any questions or want to share any experiences you have with this particular behavior?
Hey, Jamie.
Yes.
My mom doesn't shadow per se, but lately she's gotten more needy of affection. She wants me to hug her and be in the same room with her and shower her with affection, which is a big new behavior for her. So she walks with a walker after a broken hip, so she doesn't really want to follow me around. But this thing about the affection is a new thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of that stems from the same causes of maybe insecurity or uncertainty, maybe some loss, some kind of like subconscious loss of colleagues, or that I don't have as many intimate relationships as I once did, right? So stemming from the same causes. So some of those strategies can help mitigate that. I mean, having a photo book album of pictures to look through of her past relationships, that can help. Here's some, you look at what a great life you have, and how many people love you. And she can flip through that on her own. Maybe you have some friends and family members record or do a short video chat with her and record it. She can replay it. So it's not falling on you constantly. Yes, we want to add more hugs and love and all that, but hey, look, we got this message from, your brother in Oklahoma. Let's watch this. So you can push some of that out to them, and she can get that same need met through other people.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. I appreciate you all being here. And I will send out these slides and the recording to you this afternoon, and information on our upcoming programs as well. Thank you all so much. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you.